in the past, I would literally cry while I was eating because I would be eating a pint of Ben and Jerry's and crying so much and just telling myself, this is not who I am, this is not who I am, this is not who I am, this is not who I am. And I would just be eating it and just crying and telling myself that. It was just so bad and so insane. You are listening to Turn Your Soul On Radio. I am your host and visionary doctor, Dr. Brandy Victory, and my mission is to assist high-achieving women in closing the gap between feeling unfulfilled to living a life on fire. It is time, ladies, to champion our own lives and turn ourselves on. This is Living Victoriously, ladies. This is how you turn your soul on. Hello, beautiful ladies. I am so happy to be back with you today and chatting with you about how your self-sabotage is a form of addiction. So I know that sounds maybe a little crazy, but once I explain this to you, you're really going to be like, holy crap, I'm totally addicted to self-sabotage. Because here's I'm just going to sum it up. Here's what happens is you have a thought, and your thought creates chemicals in your brain. And then those brains tell your body what to do, or those chemicals, tell your body what to do. Maybe make more hormones or run or whatever, right? And if you're in a thought pattern of survival mode, and, most of the time it seems like, especially these days, we're always in survival mode, it seems. But when we have a survival type experience, thought, then it creates a survival type chemical. These types of chemicals are literally addictive to your brain. So then they cause you to create more thoughts that are similar, that cause you to create more chemicals that are addictive, and you just keep looping around and looping around and looping around. There's this really wonderful guy. His name is Dr. Joe Dispenza. If you've never heard of him, you should look him up. I'm actually reading his book right now called Becoming Supernatural. And he actually talks about this in there. And man, he just knows how to bring it home in such a way that just lands really solidly in your cells. So pick up that book. But regardless, just know that the thoughts you have are creating chemicals in your brain that are addictive, that cause you to have more thoughts of the same nature that cause more addiction. So self-sabotage is creating those addictive chemicals in your brain, so it's addictive. So your self-sabotage is a form of addiction. I mean, that's really the long and short of it. So if anybody knows about self-sabotage and addiction, it would be moi. I've had plenty of both. And, addiction is something that I actually deal with on a day-to-day basis, honestly. I mean, I have to be very mindful. I get addicted to food, and I get addicted to I would prefer to come home and just watch a movie instead of, connect. I just get addicted to that kind of zoning out experience in my life. Beings, all right, and it's less tangible because we can't see it, but we know it's there. It's there, and here's how you know. Because when you go into a room of people or to a party, you automatically know whether or not you want to talk to that group of people, or if they kind of you're like, ooh, I don't want to talk to that group of people. Maybe you feel that way. And that is literally your energy field communicating with the field of the group or the field of the other person. So our field is way bigger than our body, and our field holds all the information of our consciousness, and everyone else's fields hold all the information of their consciousness. And this is how they're, psychics can know things, or empaths. If you're an empath, I have a very strong empathic way of being in the world, and I know what people are thinking and feeling before they ever talk to me. And this is how this happens. It's because our fields are communicating way beyond our words. It's also how you know if someone's lying to you, because their field says something completely different than what's coming out of their mouth. So you actually have this ability, every one of us do, to be able to sense on a deeper level what's going on in someone else's consciousness, because our fields have all that information, and they are communicating all the time. But in our field is where we hold these kinds of problems like addictions and self-sabotage and those kinds of things. So one of the things that I do with my patients is I actually take them through a process where I put them on the table and I touch different points on their body that relate to their nervous system, and I have them think about certain things that cause their nervous system to go into a state of dysfunction. So let's just say they have a self-sabotage pattern around food, and they eat, late at night. Okay, it's been a common theme. I might have them think about that, and then I'm going to evaluate how their nervous system is functioning in relationship to that thought. And inevitably, 100% of the time, when it's a problem that they're thinking of, their nervous system goes into a state of dysfunction. I can sense it through my evaluation. And the thing is that regardless of whether they're thinking about it or not, it's still under the surface on a subconscious level, and it's causing them to act a certain way. And that's where we get stuck. So they think about I have this self-sabotage, I get up late at night and I eat food and it makes me cry, it makes me feel sad and worthless. And so I have them think about that, I see the pattern that shows up in the nervous system, and then I hold certain points on their body that correlate with parts of their nervous system so that we can repattern the nervous system in relationship to the thought. And that extends into the field. So not only are we repatterning the nervous system, we're actually repatterning the bioenergetics of their whole entire field. So when we shift the bioenergetics of our field, then the physical expression can change. So this comes from the understanding that everything is energy before it is matter. And we have a thought, and our thoughts create our physical experience. And what is in our field as an energetic blueprint creates the physicality. Like a blueprint, architect writes a blueprint, and then a construction guy builds the house based on the blueprint. Well, our physical experience is based on our blueprint, but our physical experience may not be serving us. So the blueprint, if we can go back and change the blueprint, then we have the ability to have a different experience in the physical. It's really, really cool. I honestly believe that this work saved my life. Because when I was in the throes of bipolar manic depression and wanting to commit suicide, that was not something I easily overcame. And as a result of this work that I was doing with Dr. Soanes down in Houston, Texas, I now don't have any thoughts like that. Like, it is not even a part of my consciousness. It's not even in my field to consider something like that. Like, it seems so foreign because it's out, it's gone. And that's why I do this work with my patients, because I want to really help them shift in the quantum in the biggest way possible from the quantum. So we'll go more into that as we continue these conversations about what that means. But one of the things that you can do now, and one of the things that I still do because I don't always get to get my own care, so I have to care for myself, is you can begin to do a little journaling exercise where you're like, okay, write it down and get clear. Where is it at? So can you write down, what is my self-sabotage pattern? And how does that show up? And when does that show up? So for me, my self-sabotage pattern shows up when I am stressed out or overwhelmed. And what that looks like is, for me, I'm not eating late at night, but for me right now, when I kind of go into that, I do eat foods that I don't normally eat. Like, I don't normally eat corn or dairy, and I might have that stuff. I really don't do dairy much anymore, but I would do corn or maybe some sugar. I actually had some sugar the other day. Like, that's really out of context for me, but it's because I've just been under stress, right? So whatever that looks like for you, what is your self-sabotage pattern? What does it look like? When does it show up? What does it cause you to do? Like, get clear, get really, really clear, and write it all down. And write down the feelings that come up for you when you're in that space. So for me, I'm kind of over it. So I don't really feel any stress around eating like that because I don't really do it very often. In the past, I would literally cry while I was eating because I would be eating a pint of Ben and Jerry's and crying so much and just telling myself, this is not who I am, this is not who I am, this is not who I am, this is not who I am. And I would just be eating it and just crying and telling myself that. It was just so bad and so insane. And That's happened more than once in my life. So look at it though. Like, what feelings come up for you? Is there a feeling of sadness? Is there a feeling of self-worthless or worthlessness? Is there a feeling of anger? Whatever that feeling is, I want you to just get in touch with that inside your body and go, okay, where does that feeling live in my body or in my space? Maybe there's the feeling and you feel it behind your shoulders or in your belly or on top of your head or out in front of your chest. Like, whatever it is, just check in. Like, you have the ability to evaluate what's happening in your field, and which is way bigger than your body, okay? So figure that out. Like, where does that anger land? Maybe you feel it in your liver area. Like, that's a real common place for anger to be. And then what I want you to do, this is really like going to the whole nother level. This is some of the work that I learned from the shaman that I've had in my life for the last 12 years. And he gave me this exercise, and I use it all the time, actually, with my patients and on myself. And so what you're going to do is you're going to find where that fear or that anger or whatever the feeling is lives in your body. And then you're going to close your eyes and you're going to feel that. And you're going to see it as a color. And then you're going to see it as a shape. So let's just say it's the feeling of anger. It's in the area of my liver, some inside my body, some outside my body. The color is red, and the shape is like an egg-shaped. So now what you're going to do is you're going to imagine that you have a magic eraser, because your mind is so powerful. And you are going to take that magic eraser and you are going to erase every single bit of that red egg-shaped anger feeling. Erase it out of your space until it's completely gone. Like, just erase it, erase it, erase it. And then as you're erasing it, just completely stay with it until it's completely gone. And then once it's gone and you've confirmed it's all completely gone, then you refill that space with a beautiful color. So maybe fill that space up with a beautiful blue color or a green color or whatever feels good for you. And then take a deep breath and just be with that and feel into it. And then you can go back and do it again. Is there more? Is there anger somewhere else in my space? Is there another feeling that comes up when I have this self-sabotage pattern? What is that feeling? Where is it located in my space or in my body? And then use your magic eraser and erase it. And then refill that space with a beautiful color. It's a simple practice, but I want you to know it is a powerful practice. I work with people long distance, and I use this a lot, like the shamanistic healing principles. I use a lot because you can talk somebody through their own process of clearing their own space, while I'm on the other side holding space for that to happen. And it's really a magical experience. So I'd love to hear how that practice is going for you. I'd love feedback on that, because everybody has a different experience, and it's always fun to really like hear how it goes. So we're, when we're looking at self-sabotage and addiction and food and all that kind of stuff, I mean, so many people already know about clean eating and dieting and macros and keto and all that. And I'm not suggesting keto is great or right for everyone. It's not right for everyone. It's not bad, but it's not right for everyone. But what is it that is holding you back and that you're not motivated to make change? That's where we really got to go. We got to go, okay, we get that I should only eat, how many ever carbohydrates or proteins, or don't eat sugar, or whatever the stories are, right? But there's a deeper underlying thing that keeps us stuck, right? And we got to look at that from a physical, mental, emotional, and energetic level. And doing this kind of higher level work is how you can begin to manifest a different experience. So every time it comes up for you, you sit down with it. Or even better, sit down with it all the time until it's no longer there. Because, we live in a time-space continuum, and there's a bigger part of ourselves that understands that we are more than that, and that bigger part of ourselves really gets impatient and wants things now, because outside of the time-space continuum that we actually physically live in, there is no time. Everything is now. And we have that understanding on some level, and knowing that we feel like in this time-space continuum, we should be able to manifest so quickly, which we can, but we got to be diligent about it. We stretch out the experience so we can learn from it as we go. And using this tool is a way to actually really start cutting cords and getting releasing from your field, away from your consciousness, just getting out those things that are causing you to self-sabotage and be addicted. All right, ladies, if you're thinking about taking this work a little bit deeper, I'd love to invite you to my 4-month mastermind called Turn Your Soul On Mastermind. It is only for women, and they're just a group of incredible women busting through bullshit so they can live a life of freedom and have more passion in their lives. Halfway through that 4-month program, we actually have a retreat together at our lovely little retreat-style home here in the Colorado Mountains, where we're going to do this kind of energetic work, and there'll be other things. There'll be a sound healing practitioner, my partner, Roger. He's a sound healer, and he does specialized tuning fork therapy for people to shift their frequency and their vibration so that they can bust out of the physical experience that their vibration is holding right now. Plus, I'm bringing in other teachers to help you get into your body and actually love your body. I'm in conversation with my sensual dance teacher, so I'm hoping to bring her on, and it's just going to be a great time. And those 4 months are just filled with amazingness to really move you into a more powerful version of yourself. So if you're like, wow, I certainly need to be in this masterclass, head on over to my website and apply, because there's only 8 seats available. I'm keeping it very intimate and small to ensure that each woman gets what she needs out of it and has something massive shift in her life. So it's going to be amazing, ladies. I hope to see you there. And until next time, have a beautiful life. Thank you for tuning in to another awesome episode of Turn Your Soul On Radio. If you're enjoying the show and it's making a difference in your life, I'd be super grateful if you'd head on over to iTunes and leave a heartfelt review, which tremendously helps the growth of the show. Feel free to leave any suggestions or questions in your review, or you can shoot us an email at admin@drbrandyvictory.com. I also would like to invite you to become a deeper part of the Turn Your Soul On Radio community, which you can do by joining our private Facebook group, Turn Your Soul On. I'll leave a link in the show notes for you. Thank you so much for being here today, and I'll talk to you next time. Have a fantastic day.
This podcast is for information purposes only. Dr. Brandy Victory is not a medical doctor, and the views and statements expressed on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Dr. Brandy Victory and the producers, disclaim responsibility from any possible adverse effects from the use of information contained herein. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about guest qualifications or credibility. This podcast may contain paid endorsements and advertisements for products or services. Individuals on this podcast may have a direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to herein. If you think you have a medical problem, consult a licensed physician.